Well, we
Where's
got him.
Where's the 9.8?
We got you, GPA. Tricking us.
Hi, I'm Dave, owner of Future Past Vintage Collectibles, here with my daughter Rachel.
Hello.
Like we are every week, talking about comic content, and boy, we have a lot today.
Yes.
Yes. So I want to get all the business out of the way right in the beginning. We buy comics. Make sure that you think about us if you're planning on selling your collection, no matter how big, no matter how small, no matter what era. Check us out if you're thinking of selling. Also,
we do claim sales. If you're new here, follow us here. First, follow us here. Subscribe. Also, follow us over on Instagram. We do high-grade claim sales every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we now do a claim sale every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we are selling what we're calling our Show Me the Bargain books.
show me the bargain.
Show me the bargain.
Show me the bargain.
I'm going to throw a little picture I made up here. So we are doing that every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time over on Instagram Live. And then every single Monday we do high-grade claim sales, bronze and copper, heavy comic sales over there. And they're awesome. And we have a lot of fun.
We're racing into our second year doing this, and we're having a good time.
We're having a good time. So give us a follow over here so you get notified about videos, and over there if you want to buy some cool books.
So Rachel kept asking me, like, are you going to say something about what's going on with these CGC books? And I really wasn't going to yet. There's plenty of people out there that are making a lot of content about it, and they're doing research, and I don't want to, like, just jump on every bandwagon. I think it's covered quite well. I do want to bring something up, though. One thing about CGC, this is not the biggest scam I've ever seen. I remember as an early collector before CGC that there was a huge amount of books that were being restored to no one's knowledge, and we're not talking hundreds. We're talking, I don't know how many thousands. So people were buying restored books. It was a real problem, a problem that CGC helped rectify. So we pretty much know that when we get a book from CGC, that it's not restored. That was one of the big reasons why a lot of people started leaning into them. Also, it raised the value of comics that there was a certification of grade. The prices we see today, I don't know if they'd be possible without companies like CGC that have a reputation. So here's another scam, someone taking advantage of people on collectibles. It's not unique to our hobby. There's people that are selling you fake handbags. There's people that are selling you fake furniture. I mean, you name it. Doesn't matter what it is. So when we catch people like that, hopefully whatever's coming to them is coming to them.
Because, man, that's crazy.
I do think that the funny thing about most of these books is it's really traceable. But that's about all I want to touch on for now. I want to talk about investment today. I think a lot of people have come into the hobby in the last few years and thought, hey, I miss comic books, or for whatever reason they've decided they want to invest in comic books. There's a lot of interest in that. I'd like to just show today, we're going to really focus on some 9/8s and talk about books in the last few years that have done well and maybe haven't, and kind of what their status is. Were they good investments? As usual, we're talking about books that we have. So I'm not going to just start going over the same 10 books you hear in every show. I would venture to say no one else is talking about these books.
Yeah.
And you're going to recognize all of them, and if you don't, I mean, they're still like books that people like, mostly Copper Age, and they took the biggest beating. And I'm not going to get into a long, boring conversation about why they took that beating, but I do want to talk about them one at a time, and we can kind of drill into it from another direction. So we brought a bunch.
Yeah, we have 10.
Yeah,
9/8 that we're going to talk about today.
Let's start off. I want to start off with Marvel Comics Presents number 1.
9/8 white pages, the first issue of Marvel Comics Presents. Here we go.
And this series ran for quite a long time. It's a little bit unique because it always has 3 stories that aren't reprints. They're very short stories. This is where the Weapon X storyline about Wolverine getting his bones metal-fied by the U.S. military to make him a weapon. That all happened here.
The highest sale in 2023 was $200, and the lowest sale in 2023 was $60.
Yeah.
The $200 sale was early in the year. Yeah, it was in February. The $200 sale was in February, so early on in the year.
Take a look at this. You'll see these wild swings. And that really has a lot to do with where people are buying them, how many are available, who happens to be looking now. A lot of instant gratification type stuff, like, is it a big deal for me to spend 20 more? I'd rather, so you'll see these huge swings all the way from, $110, $60, $104, $135. These are 20% swings, 30% swings, double. So the book's volatile. Is it popular? Yeah. Investment grade for this book's 9/8 white pages. Well-centered, nice copy. You could get a raw, near mint for probably between $20 and $30. For a real one. If you had one that had no color breaks and maybe there's some small things to press on it.
The last sale was $65.
Yeah.
The 90-day average is $103, which is also like...
Yeah,
it's like $20.
It's important,
$30,
and that's a good point because I believe it's important if you're going to buy this or sell this that you understand that range. If one person hopped in and spent $65, but everyone else has been spending $110, the price is still $110. Sometimes you'll see someone hop in, spend $65, and the next person also spends that much. Well, how did that happen? Those two people might have changed the whole market and cut the book in half. Because the next person doesn't want to spend more than $65.
Yeah, they see those two sales and they're like, well, I'm not going to be a sucker.
Three sales, by the way, are where I start to get a confirmation that this is a trend. Just because it's a trend doesn't mean that's the value of the book. It's just the current value of the book.
Yeah, the 90-day average for this book has 16 books in the 90-day average at $103. It's down, like it has the red arrow down, but it's still like, that feels pretty accurate because of how many sales were in the last 90 days.
See, so many books aren't hot. It's not a matter of hot or cold. It is just a matter of like who's in the market to buy that book and who likes that series. And there are some other issues in this run that really took a beating. This one took less of a beating than others. When it comes to understanding the market in comics, you need to understand the market of 9/8 Marvel Comics Presents #1s. It's its own market. Because when you look at the 9/6, you're going to find that there's not a huge delta. It's not a big deal. Do I think a 9/6 is investable?
The 9/6 information is the last sale was $44. The 90-day average is $46 with 9 sales. The highest sale in 2023 was $86 and the lowest was $31.
Yeah, so I don't look at it dollar to dollar. I look at it percentage to percentage. Is it going down 50%, 30%? What kind of swings, what kind of volatility? It's actually less volatile and more directly straight down. Here's the way that comic books works. It's a very loose market in some ways. It's really how much is it worth to you? If you passed on this book, could you get another one? Yes.
Because there's a lot of them out there.
Never FOMO for this book. There's got to be hundreds of thousands of copies of it.
I'm going to look right now.
I've bought collections that have just stacks of them, raw. So there's so many books that have not been processed through CGC. This is not a book that I think I would ever recommend somebody to invest in. However, I understand when someone wants a 9/8, they'd like it tucked in a case, just put it away, know they have a nice fresh 9/8. 9/8s don't grow on trees. If books have been held for the last 35 years in a box, or however they're being held, and they haven't been slabbed, chances are they're not a 9/8.
And just so you know, because you were saying how many books of this are available, there's 1,977 issues of this slabbed on the census. 617 of them are 9/8s.
So, and Rachel is bringing up a point that is important in modern 9/8s. The percentage of graded copies that are 9/8. Very important fact. You really want to be under 25%. If you want more comfort that is not as available, people really like books. They're starting to prefer books that have some kind of nuance that sets them apart. So if you look up newsstand or you look up Canadian price variant, if you look up other things that could make this stand out in a 9/8 white pages, you're going to find that to become the most desirable in terms of price. And that's why I made the statement that each one kind of lives in its own ecosystem. So, from a really pragmatic standpoint, I would not call this an investment book.
It's interesting because there's like 10 of them on eBay right now.
So what do you value this at, just from our little conversation? If we were to sell a copy, what do you think we'd sell it for?
Probably like 130.
Yeah.
125.
I'd probably think is somewhere between 100 and 110.
Because, I mean, there's a lot of sales that are under 100 here.
Yeah, but the thing about selling a comic book, let's say all these sales, and I decide I'm going to price mine exactly at the highest one, right? Will I sell it? I'm going to tell you the chances are I won't. You did notice there's 600 of them.
Well, that's another thing too. That's why I went to eBay, because I was like, how many are on this? And there's ones that are CBCS. I didn't count those. I just counted the CGCs.
Yeah.
And there's at least 10 of them on there. So it's like, you don't want to be the 11th person.
If I had a CBCS copy of it, 9/8 white pages, looked fine, and they usually do, I would sell it for the same amount. For me.
I just didn't include it just because of the census
But
specifically.
you're saying another point that there's other graded copies somewhere else.
Who knows what a PGX would go for? Like, who knows? I don't know how many are out there. But
yeah.
I wouldn't want to be the 11th person to post it on eBay, is what I'm saying. I probably would just hold on to it.
So I don't think that the lowest number, if that's the number that you point at saying, well, that's what I'll buy it at, you may not see that again for quite a while. You might. If you say this is the book that if the bottom completely fell out of it, I'd enjoy to have one for $45. Okay. I think that you might have a shot if you looked at every auction on eBay and one went off at 3 o'clock in the morning, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, because all the ones I saw were buy now, so.
Because if I saw one for $35 on eBay, I might buy it. Because I do think it's $100. It's a $100 book. At the very least, I think if there was a lot of copies for sale. One of the things about eBay, if I was to post on eBay and I couldn't beat the bottom price, I wouldn't put it on there.
That's the thing about eBay too. It's like if you do want to sell it, you have to sell it for the least amount.
I think people put books on eBay without looking. It's like, let me see. This guy is asking for the exact same book, same grade, looks the same. He's asking $175. I know. I'll ask $260.
Double that. Well, one of them had like a special label. I know that costs extra.
I call those eggcorn postings. Looking for an eggcorn to come bopping down the road and pay way too much for a book. And a lot of people do that because they feel like, and this is true, we're saying a lot, there are collectors who don't have a lot of time. They don't have the energy they want to put into like really looking. If they looked on eBay and there was one copy of it, they might just buy it. Yeah, if I ever recommend anything, don't impulse buy. It's studying what you want.
Shop around a little bit.
Know what you're looking for. I mean, if you saw a book you haven't seen in 4 years that you've been looking for, and it's from the Silver Age and it's the right grade, okay, I get the impulse there because you have been thinking about that book for 4 years. If you just saw one pop on there and you haven't thought about it for 4 minutes, it's probably not a wise move. Just saying. Not if you ever want to get your money back. And really, it's not investing I talk about. It's like, if you want to purchase things that you have an opportunity to get your money back, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee it won't go to 200. But I feel pretty strongly that it may not go to 200 in my lifetime. Anyway, this book, no.
Sorry, no.
Because there's too many. The percentage is you'd have to go out and slab 10,000 9/6s or less to make this a decent number that they're harder to get. Anyway, let's move on.
Right. Next book up is Something is Killing the Children, #1, the first print, 9/8 from 2019. We have talked about this book many times. Let's talk about some.
There's a compelling story here in terms of like investment or getting a return on your, on your spend.
Yes.
Let's talk about the stats. Tell me the stats on this book.
Yeah, so in 9/8, the last sale of this book was $555. That was in December of 2023. The 90-day average is $612. That's from 28 sales, which is that's a pretty good number.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Pretty accurate. It's down. It's got the red arrow. The 12-month average is $667 with 180 sales. The highest sale in 2023 was $954. The lowest was $337.
Yeah, it's got a wide bridge. It's a modern book. It's been pretty popular. Still pretty popular. This was getting some steam. They're on some top 10 lists in the last few months. And here's the problem. And I said it then, I'm going to say it again. This book hasn't moved. If anything, it's gone down, right?
Yeah, I had an arrow down.
So it's not hot. It's desirable. And we'll show you in some other stats that people want this book. They'd like a copy. Problem is the 9/8 became prohibitive. So you don't see growth in the 9/8, but let's take a peek at 9/6.
Yeah, I was trying to see really quick when the $900 sale was. It was early in the year in February.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
And I'm sure we could drill down into that, and it was the amount of available copies. It wasn't because there was 20 copies and they were all $900.
It could have been an auction. It could have been an auction.
Well, there might have only been one copy online.
At that time, in February.
And somebody just liked the comic more than their money.
Yeah. So the 9.6, the last sale of a 9.6 of this book was $430. The 90-day average was $343 with 24 sales. The 12-month average is $362. And the highest sale of a 9.6 was $684. The lowest was $194.
Yeah, in this particular case, because of it being prohibitive in the higher grade, $600 average, it's $550 right now. Mm-hmm. People decided they would settle for a 9.6. Look at the stats on this book in terms of like how many are graded. It tells a story by itself.
Yeah, so there are 3,622 copies of the first print graded on CGC. 2,494 of those are 9.8s. 766 of them are 9.6s. So majority of them are 9.6, 9.8.
They are probably 75%.
Yeah, the lowest grade is a 7.0. There's one.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think as you get down into the lower grades here, on this book, 9.8 is really investment grade. 9.6 is more attractive, and the thing is, it's 4 times harder to get a 9.6 than a 9.8.
But it's cheaper than buying a 9.8.
What has that done? It's raised the price of 9.6, where in this particular book, 9.6 is a better investment than 9.8. I wouldn't have known that. I have a 9.6.
9.4 is the last sale of a 9.4 was $325. So it's like even if you have a
my 9.6
lower 9.0 grade,
my 9.6 has gone up probably 25 to 30% since I bought it. And I haven't seen the updated number.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And I'm not saying that's the now price, but I get it. We'd have to do more research. So, like I said, every book lives in its own ecosystem. We'd have to see like how many are for sale right now on eBay and go start doing that kind of thing.
I just want to see.
Seeing availability, right? So if there are a lot of 9.6s available, you could probably get a good idea of what people are expecting to get for them. And then you look at the sales, like the past sales on eBay, and you can see what's actually selling. So if you look on eBay, you'll see that everything is a little bit higher than what GPA is saying. So let's look at sales. So $430, that's confirming to the price. If it's a 10, now there you go. There's my comic shop, and I respect their pricing. They sold one for $350.
Yeah, it's the bids, the auctions that are selling the most for.
Yeah, so I would say that the market's not being satisfied in terms of there's not enough 9.6s. People are hoping they can get it for $350 like they did at my comic shop because that's a good buy. Mm-hmm. I paid about $320 or $330 for my 9.6. So that's what they were a year ago.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing the market move to a lower grade because horror collectors in the modern era want a copy of it.
Well, and this book's an anomaly because there was only so many of the first print made. So, there's thousands and thousands of other prints of this issue, but everyone wants the first print. And there's not as many of them.
So many came in 9.8. It tells you that, people say this book's tough or whatever to get in 9.8. No, it's not.
Well, a lot of people, I think, just got it slabbed when they got it or something.
I think it had a lower than normal print run because it's the first of a smaller publisher. So they didn't print 50,000. They might have printed 25 to 30. I heard a number at some point in the past.
That's why they're still making reprints of the first issue. Even now, they're still making them.
Which is not a bad thing if you have one of these and you'd like to be able to get your money back out of it later because they're keeping so much interest in that story. And they've also put out new titles under this, creating a universe here.
Yeah.
This is a good example, though, of the analysis, I think, that's necessary to understand pricing. Would I sell a 9.6 right now for $250? No, because I know that they're in demand.
Well, number one, you paid more than that. Number two, you don't want to...
Well, I've done that before.
I know, but not on purpose.
Let's spice it up.
All right, so this is Avengers 196, Origin and First Appearance of Taskmaster in 9.8. All right, so last sale of this book in 9.8 was in August of 2023, so it's been a minute. $800. Mm-hmm. There's no 90-day average because there hasn't been a sale, but the 12-month average is $897 with 9 sales. The highest sale this year in 2023 was $1,125, and then the lowest sale was $750. The highest sale of all time for this book was $3,000, and it was in 2021.
Spec. It was spec on Black Widow, on Disney Plus, and then Taskmaster showed up, and it was a female, and it wasn't the original Taskmaster. The origin had changed. It was a disappointment. to me, because I really like this character, and I think that it would be fun to follow this character. He's got a cool power that he can mimic anything. Use arrows like Hawkeye and fight like Captain America, and it's pretty cool. You'll notice that this book stayed stagnant most of its life. And then it started to get ripples, because it's a cool George Perez cover, by the way, and this is PC. I'll sell it one day, but I like it. I like having a copy. Super hard to find it looking this nice. Take it from me. I buy comic books, go through them all the time. I have not found one in the wild like this. I paid money for this book.
Okay, so I just looked on eBay, and we were still on the sold page, and I found a sold listing from December 15th, so it hasn't populated on GPA yet, for $1,399, but it's a newsstand. So you can see 9.8 of this book. That's newsstand. That's significant.
A newsstand of this is special because there's so few, and there's only 6 sales I see over the last 10 years.
Yep.
They've been so like I would see people really trying to get that, but I don't know if you really want the book. It's worth less out of newsstand. I don't know if that's ever going to fall out of favor. If 20 years from now people say newsstands, there's a nuance that they're rarer because there's less of them.
There are 4,898 total slab copies. 315 of them are 9.8s. 604 of them are 9.6s.
So this is a great example of what I consider a good place to keep my money. So this is only 5% of the entire slab market. That's really good. And in that 5%, a fraction of those are newsstand. They might not have called it out, but you only see 6 sales. It tells you something. This book's pretty cool. It's valuable for its era. It's fun. People still want it. People like this character. Some people don't care about this character. That's the way comics are, right? So
let's look at the 9.6 data.
Yeah.
The last 9.6 sold for $183. The 90-day average for a 9.6 is $193. The highest sale this year of a 9.6 was $340, and the lowest was $159. Highest sale of all time for this book was $825. You guessed it, in 2021.
As a collector, I think 9.6 is a great value in terms of how much less it is, because now you're looking at a 4X scenario. As you get into 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, even higher, the delta between what a 9.6 cost and what a 9.8 cost, and you might have a hard time even getting a 9.6 for that price. I think people will really resist selling these books that cheap for $150, say. Is there any for sale right now?
Yeah, there's one listed for $425, and I can tell it's off-white white. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Why? It hasn't even sold for that much in 9.6.
How many are for sale though in 9.6?
There's a lot. There's over 7, over 10.
Yeah, interesting book. Once again, it has its own ecosystem. It's still a pretty popular book, but it's really available. When you pull something up on eBay and there's 10 of them, that's really not a good sign in terms of, I wouldn't mind getting this book, investing a lot of money, and I have a hope of later on getting it back.
Yeah, a 9.6 is going to be easier to get than a 9.8 just because of how many more there are.
Yeah, if you just want a copy, I think that if you already have a copy of it, $800 is not bad. Mm-hmm. It's not bad. I think I paid more for this. I paid more than $1,000 for this.
Was that in 2021?
Yes.
Yeah. The time of our lives.
Now, not all things are available in 9.8, and I think 9.8 is kind of ridiculous as a goal. Although some people set that goal, and I understand hard goals. I love them, Mm-hmm. I kind of set one on FF. But here's a Rocky Mountain copy. Let's talk about this book.
All right, so this is Fantastic Four number 123. It's a Rocky Mountain pedigree, Silver Surfer issue.
So it's got Silver Surfer and Galactus on the cover.
And Richard Nixon.
Yeah.
Just in case you didn't know. 1972,
I paid a lot of money for this book in an auction, and I bought multiple different books from this part of the run. I actually lost. I was bidding on some of them, and when they went over $1,500, kind of backed off them. Some of these went for $1,800 and $2,000. But I picked this one up. At the time, the highest sale, I think, was $350 or $400 on GPA.
Okay.
I paid $1,500 for it.
Okay.
This was 2 years ago.
Okay.
So let's see what the highest sale is now. Because they didn't record that sale. That sale wasn't recorded. It was on Comic Link.
Well, and this will be a little different, too, because this is a pedigree. So pedigrees are always going to go a little bit higher just because they're pedigrees.
The highest sale for 9.8 is $350?
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
This is weird. Let me look at something.
Highest sale ever is $12.60, but that's just direct though. It's not pedigree or anything. They almost never trade.
Can we see if it's white pages?
Oh, that's a 9.6. What? Well,
Where's
got him.
Where's the 9.8? So this book is an under the radar book. I wasn't the only one spending money on these books, but GPA does not reflect the value of this book, and there's something to be said about that. You guys, if you're not dealing with auctions and you're not in that world or dealing with dealers on large books, you may not have a real good perspective of the fact that some things are worth way more than the last recorded sale. So for this book right here, I wouldn't sell this for under $1,500.
So I just want to say, we were just looking at the 9.8 data on this. We were going to talk to you about it. But when I dove down deep into the information, there's one sale this year of a 9.8 of this book. And it said it sold for $350. We both were like, that doesn't seem right. So we dived into the data on GPA, and I'll throw it up here. And it's showing that was actually a 9.6, not a 9.8.
Big difference.
And like, if you don't know to do that, or if you don't know that book should be more than that, you probably would just be like, oh, okay, a 9.8's worth $350. That's what it sold for.
Well, here's what's really interesting. 5X is a good multiplier because there's so few 9.8s. How many 9.8s are there?
Okay, so there's 368 total slabbed copies of this book, and there's only 25 9.8s.
7.5%. They're just really hard to find. And anything from Silver Surfer this early is incredibly popular. And 9.8s, that's actually a lot. The fact that this is Rocky Mountain, I would say, increases the price 10 to 15%. Anyone who knows about Rocky Mountain, they like the quality of the books. I'm glad to have it.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold on to this for a while.
GPA doesn't know about it. We might need to message them about that, because that kind of stuff really messes up things for people if they're looking at data. That's why it's good to look at multiple things.
And we're saying a lot in this video, but it's fascinating that people put out these top 10 lists and talk about a book that's up 300%. And that 300% is 18 more people bought the book
in the last year.
That month.
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of these numbers that you're dealing with, or information, like the information that comes out from that's recorded. No one knew that I spent this except the guy I bought it from and the people I was battling against to get it.
The battle.
And there was a lot of bids on this series because there was like this whole part of the run was all 9.8.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
some of them pedigree. I got another one.
Let's look at it.
Yeah, so this is the other one I got, and this is just dope. I mean,
this one's Fantastic Four 121. This one is a Twin Cities pedigree.
This book is centered impeccably.
She's beautiful.
Weird defect on both of these books is there's overspray that's quite significant on the front, but because of the quality of the book and the rest of the book is just flawless, it's a 9.8. So when you see when I first got it, I'm like, oh, I didn't see that in the scan. But it's not bad. It's not on the back. It's only on the front.
Well, and it shows like if there's overspray, you can still get a 9.8 because there's nothing else.
Yeah.
If there was something else going on and it had overspray, it would be a 9.6. But it doesn't. So.
I want to stop you there. One thing about the scam that's happening, and this is the truth, folks, I cannot tell you how often I look at slab books and pass on them because the book does not look like the grade. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you. Or the book's not centered right. That staple looks, whatever, I'm really focused on because I'm trying to get the very best copies I can get of comics. It's my sensibility, but most of all, I like to resell them. And those are points that may not be a big deal to a lot of people. They are a big deal to people who spend a lot of money on comics because you really want a copy you're going to be happy with. If this was off center, if this had just like, big white here and no white there, it looks like, too much pork on it. Whatever I say. I don't know what to say. But whenever it's not aligned like this, and if it's off, and let's just say it's a little bit crooked, so I wouldn't have bought it. I mean, the reason I bought these last two books is because they look great.
But I don't know if it would have been a pedigree if all the books were looking wonky like that.
I would have passed on the pedigree. Yeah. Pedigrees do not cover wraps. They cover condition. Typically, in a pedigree, and you're still going to have lower grade books in pedigrees. Sure. Maybe someone read more of one than the other, but most books should be of a certain quality. Like the pages look a little bit brighter. It's the way they're kept. Yeah. Typically. Yeah.
All right. So this is FF 121, another Silver Surfer cover. The last recorded sale was in 2021 of a standard copy for $1,142. That was in December of 2022. The last Twin Cities that sold was in October of 2011, recorded. You bought yours way later. That was $388.
Yeah, it was 12 years ago.
Yeah,
13.
so this book does not trade very often. Let me just double check and make sure that the last sale was actually a 9.8. Okay, last sale was an actual 9.8.
And it was not white pages.
And it was not white pages.
Big difference, by the way. There's a premium there, over 10%.
There are more 9.8s of this that exist than the other one. There's 472 total slabs, 65 9.8s.
About 13-14%.
So a little bit more than the other issue, but still pretty hard to find out there in the world.
And the 9.6 is probably 5.6x.
Mm-hmm. And then again, this is a pedigree, so it's going to be different. Who knows what this would sell for today?
Yeah. So once again, it's like, okay, I like that book. What grade do I want it in? You might have an easier time of getting this than some of the others. Personally, I love this. It's really hard to find these in grade.
Yeah, pedigrees are always a good investment, depending on what it is.
Here's an interesting one. Let's do this Iron Man.
Okay. All right, so this is Iron Man 101. Frankenstein appearance. First appearance of the Dead Knight in cameo on the last page. The last sale of this book was in September of 2023 for $464. It did not trade more than twice this year, recorded. Highest sale of this book this year was $661. There was only 2 sales this year. Highest sale of all time was $703, and that was in 2022.
How many are out there? I think this is one of those books that's really low percentage.
Yeah, 159 total graded copies. There are 22 9.8s.
Yeah, so it's like 15%. I really like this book. It wasn't cheap when I got it. I'm just going to hold on to it because of the Frankenstein cover. This is an interesting book. Is it ready for sale?
Oh, let's see.
Here's a type of book a little harder to find.
So there's a 9.6, there's a 9.4, and there's a 5.5 listed on eBay. No 9.8s though.
They're all pretty much the same price.
I know. Yeah, the 9.6 is $145, the 9.4 is $130, and the 5.5 is $450. And I think the 5.5 is off white pages. $450.
Waiting for a rube.
Very
Waiting for a rube to just dope to dope to
dope. Is it a Mark Jewelers or something? Hang on.
Is a Mark Jewelers foreign
triple cover? No, it's not. It's just regular. It's just a 5.5. I don't know.
Why?
I don't know. Don't spend $450 on a 5.5. That's my recommendation. I don't buy the comics in this world, but I wouldn't buy that for $450.
So it's another book that is 4.5x over the 9.6. It's in that comfort range, under 25% of the 9.8s. Of the graded copies are 9.8. It's something I like. I like books that aren't horror books that have horror covers.
Yeah.
This is a newer book, Rachel. This book is only 30. It's only 33.
It's as old as I am. 32.
On the year I bought this the year you were born.
All right, so this is Sandman number 25 from 1991. And it doesn't say this on the label, but it's the first appearance of the Boy Detectives, or whatever their name is. Is that what it is? Boy Detectives?
Ghost Detectives?
Detective Boys? I don't know. But it, in 9.8, has traded 2 times this year. The last sale was $330 in November of 2023, and the 12-month average is $267. Highest sale of all time of this book was $449, and that was in 2021. And it doesn't trade a lot. That's
when the spec got announced that it had been optioned.
It only traded recorded 7 times last year, or in 2022.
I've had this for a long. I'm not selling.
Yeah, did you buy this brand new?
No, I got this in a collection.
Oh, okay, but we slabbed it. We got it.
We
slabbed,
did.
Right?
We submitted it and slabbed it.
Mm-hmm.
I had almost the entire run. And they were just coming back 9.8 left and right. They were just so pretty.
Well, there's only 36 9.8s of this in the census. Out of 176 total. 176.
So it's like, what, 15%, 18%, something like that?
I don't know.
Not bad. There's not a lot of copies out there. If this series was to take off, I could see more interest in it. I think it's a better value at 9.6. Do I think it's a good investment to keep to not sell it for what it's selling for right now? I would sell it for the amount that it's selling for right now.
Well, I mean, it's only sold once, so it's hard. Let me see if there's any on eBay.
None?
I don't see any.
Yeah, it's tougher to get, which means I would probably get what I asked.
Nope, 9.6. There's a 9.6, and it's listed for $161, which is interesting.
That's about
There's
right.
a 9.4 listed $100.
Yeah.
It could be way more than 330. It could be way less. It really just depends on what someone's willing to pay for it.
Yeah, I think 330 is a little high for this. I mean, if I'm going to just break it down, I think if I went to sell this for 330, I wouldn't get a bite.
No.
That's why I'd rather wait and make sure there's more interest in it, or I'll just hold it. It's a cool book, and I like Sandman. I don't know why people like bought all these Sandmans when the show came out. I understand that part. Why sell them? It's like you just need to hold it while the show's going on, because
You have to.
I have had copies of that since they came out.
Yeah, you were buying them brand new.
I really liked the series, kind of like Something Is Killing the Children. It was just a great horror series that was well written. It was just really well written. The show was phenomenal.
So good.
Season 2 is being made, and that means nothing to me. It did bring attention to this book for me.
Yeah. Because I didn't care about it.
But this book is not going to be in the Sandman show. They're going to have their own show.
Oh, the Boy Detectives, yeah. This book will probably be on top 10 lists again when that happens. Dead Boy Detectives.
Dead Boy Detectives.
That's what it is. Sorry if everyone yelled at me in the comments about that. I don't
know. The boys.
Dem Boys. It's Dem Boys. I think we have one more.
Well, this one is pretty current. In terms of, like, this show gets dropped we're in January. It gets dropped January 9th. On Disney Plus, and they're going to drop the entire season at once. They're also dropping it on Hulu. This is not a paid advertisement.
I just wish it was. You to know. That'd be great.
I am actually excited about this. I am going to spend however many hours those episodes are. I will be watching them all back to back.
In case you're wondering what it is, it's Daredevil.
Oh.
Daredevil, by the way. Daredevil Volume 2, Number 9 from 1999. This one is the first appearance of Echo. Yeah. All right.
So the show Echo is coming out. I think it's going to be fantastic. I'm waiting for something. She is a hearing impaired superhero.
You're waiting for something? What are you waiting for?
Waiting for
something.
Something good to come on Disney Plus, because not so much. Yeah. And I'm not griping about it.
There's no Star Wars right now, so he needs something to watch.
There's not a Star Wars series. I don't get obsessed with.
I know there's no Star Wars right now, so this is going to be your new show until another Star Wars show comes out.
My wife will watch Star Wars with me, but if I don't remind her it's on, she'll never ask me about it again.
It's like almost we should have spread out those Star Wars shows a little bit.
We can watch a half a series of something, and she likes it. But if I never mention to her again that the next episode's out, she doesn't care less. So I am kind of watching it alone with someone else. Okay.
All right, so this is Daredevil Volume 2, Number 9. 9/8. The last 9/8 sold in January of this year, 2024. Happy New Year. $200. It sold for $200. That's not bad. Yeah. The 90-day average is $201 with 42 sales. That's the most we've seen traded in a while.
This is a good example of a solid price on a book that's getting sell-through.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is lower than it has been. There's a bunch of red arrows everywhere.
Right.
The 12-month average is $220, so it's still pretty close to $200. Highest sale of I'm going to say the highest sale of 2023. There has been 3 sales already this year, though, and it's only January 3rd. That's kind of crazy.
It's going to go up.
Because of the show.
Because of the show.
Spec is so funny that way. The highest sale of 2023 was $295, and the lowest was $125. But this year, there has been 3 sales, highest $220, lowest $191 in 2024, which is interesting.
I did not pay $1,800 for this book like someone did in 2021.
Oh, my gosh.
When it got announced.
Yeah, I feel bad for that person.
So, I sent this in, by the way.
Yeah, we got this
I sent this in, got slabbed. This book is tough because it's got a gatefold cover.
And this paper's so weird.
Thin. Just thin. So it's got this gatefold when you open it up, so it's harder to press. Not that it's impossible. There's ways to protect it. It's difficult to press something that has a second seam in it, which is right here because it folds under. But it's also, I love the art on this. I like this whole run. Right?
Man Without Fear or whatever.
So this is a good example of a solid book right now. Would I recommend somebody spend $200 on this? I'm going to tell you, no. No. And I own it. I mean, I have more than one of them. I think that if the show, so many people are only getting it because of the show, so much rides on the show.
Yeah.
What about before the show? This character's been around since 99. It's like, if there's no interest, it's now thought that this character's going to be just part of the MCU, and I don't know, man. I don't think that's the reason to buy it because the show's coming out. I think if people are buying it because the show's coming out, man, get a 9.2.
There's quite a few of them listed on eBay. Most of them are auctions. The one that isn't an auction, it's listed for $300. Most of them are over $200 if they are buy it nows, which is interesting since it seems to be selling for around $200. That's pretty typical.
Hey, we're going to do more videos like this in the future. I want to talk about different grades and just kind of help people to see things in the way that we evaluate them. And I know other people evaluate them like this that make these purchases. A couple of books I wanted to talk about that are not slabs. So there are a lot of people buying raw books. And when it comes to speculating, if I knew that I was getting books of a high caliber that are going to be 9.6 or 9.8, and I have bought collections like that. I had a guy that had about 800 books. Most of them are back issues. After I looked at about, 30 or 40 books, I said, how much for all of them? Because they're so high grade. I could tell whoever took care of these books, there was no boards in them. They were just bagged. Was impeccable. And I found nail marks. I mean, they were red. But as I went through them, the majority of those books were 9.6. I probably got 50 9.8s out of there. I love high-grade comics. Now, some people just want the book. A lot of the stuff you can get affordably. So if you just go out and buy, let's talk about the Cosmic Spectacular Spider-Man 160. This is one of the books that we have that's a near mint. It's nice to just have books like this. It's difficult to make the decision to buy one. You should really trust who you're buying it from. And they should have a good reputation, and they should definitely stand behind their product. So, we have things like this, and it's a 9.8 now, near mint. When CGC puts it in the case, it's a near mint then. It's a 9.8. The only difference is it's not slabbed, and then it's down to grading. Can you grade? Do you know how to grade? Do you know what to look for in the smallest things? And let's switch over to the Amazing Spider-Man 298, which is an expensive book, and I didn't sell this because I asked for more than people were comfortable spending, so I'll probably slab it.
Yeah.
Because of the first book in the McFarlane run, Todd McFarlane's not getting any less popular, and it was a good book 10 years ago. It's a good book now. There's a lot of these that are high grade, and we have a lot. I just grabbed a couple. We have a lot of books that are like this, but I would say in a high grade collection, 1 in 100.
Yeah, it's hard. They're hard to find.
They're not easy to find. You have to be very technical, and you have to understand CGC standards and the smallest things. One of the things that takes a lot of books out from this era and before it are the tears that happen at publication when they cut the book and they rip a little bit of the back cover whenever the cut's not clean. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the cut's a little bit off, and it will create it's not a production fold, but it's like a little chip out of the back or out of the spine at the bottom or top. It's just like a little tiny divot from the cut. Mm-hmm. That knocks it out. So it's like it has to be so small, even though it was production. I would recommend anyone that you can learn as much as you can about what you're buying. Buy what you like. Try to get the best deal you can. I've seen a lot of people that I know are very successful at investing in comics. They know the most. They have the most money, and they're willing to spend an awful lot on a book. There's books you've never heard of that are selling for numbers that are astronomical. There's no top 10 list you ever hear on YouTube that's accurate. There are sales happening right now for tens of thousands of dollars that are the highest graded, the most that book ever got, and you'll never hear about them. We're
done. We did it. We went through some books with you guys.
Yeah.
Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because we want you to come and say hi to us every week when we post videos. Also follow us on Instagram where we do claim sales every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time of high grade books and every Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time of our bargain books. Show me the bargain.
Yeah, and I hope you found this helpful in your endeavors of spending money on comic books or buying books, and good luck in your happy hunting. Happy hunting. Just happy comic hunting.
Hunting.
Goodbye. I said hunting.
Hunting.
Okay. Happy comic hunting. That was the corniest thing we've ever done.
I'm going to put all that
Never
in there.
do that again.
Goodbye.